pretty emotional in that meditation. Um, I started my career years as a meditator, like 25 years or whenever it was ago. One of the earliest my experiences was actually going to India and traveling around, north of New Delhi and into Rishikesh and visiting different ashrams. And I did a lot of meditation, and it left an amazing impact on me. And it kind of all rushed back tonight because it was the sweetness, the joy, the love. Like you could really feel that quality in the singing and the devotional quality. And it's good for me to remember that because sometimes I think I'm very interested in meditation and very nerdily curious about it. And sometimes I'm a little bit too much like a kind of engineer when I approach it. And to have the heart opening quality of what practice really is it's so front and center in this tradition, in this space. So I'm very honored to be here. It's really a privilege. And I want you to think of the swamis here and the teachers and some of the great experts on reality. They're really setting the bar up right up here. And I'm going to limbo right underneath it. So you don't have to worry for a moment that I'm going to get ahead of you. Think of me as your spiritual junior. I'm up here to make you feel better about your meditation practice and indeed your spiritual prospects straight across the board. I was really feeling that also because I think that was the first 25-minute meditation I've actually successfully gotten through without being interrupted with a screaming 2-year-old or 5-year-old in probably about 2.5 weeks, well, maybe a week and a half. So just to have this blissful period to sit, to quiet my mind-ish, to notice, oh, my nervousness is here. I'm feeling slightly imposterish, that I haven't actually successfully sat down in meditation in over a week. But also my happiness around being here, and it's appropriate in a way because before I ever had kids, I would go on these long retreats, and it was I'd spend probably 2 months a year just in silent retreat, and I loved it. And then that all changed, and now I'll never get away for it, and it really changed my approach to teaching. It forced me to get very, very, very real. What can other householders like myself who are right in the middle of it, who are in the middle of busy lives and with young children and may not be able to get away maybe for a weekend a year, maybe a week if they're lucky, but many of them not at all, or you're trapped in COVID. That was also when I started getting more popular, it was during COVID times. What can I communicate about the practice that is going to help them? And is there a way that I can communicate it that isn't just going to be about a bit of stress relief, which is how so much of the kind of secular version of the practice is offered these days, but can I share these practices in a way that also points to the deeper end of where they lead, the transformative end of meditation? I mean, meditation is the royal road. It has been the royal road for thousands of years to understand who we are and how we relate to reality, how we exist in reality, how we are reality. And that's been kind of my project. And so that's, I think, what I'm going to kind of focus on or in these workshops that I'm going to do tomorrow and do the next day. I'm hoping actually tomorrow night we're going to have a conversation about all of this. And I'm very interested in drawing out the Swami over here in understanding more of like how this tradition views the kind of deeper end of the path and where it goes and what some of the obstacles are, and but also how to make it accessible. So that's going to be kind of the intention of these little workshops. But tonight I thought, well, actually, honestly, I didn't even know what quite I was going to do. I like to, and I think that's partly because of meditation. There would have been a time when I would have been so control freak over the situation, the idea of going up, a bunch of people I don't really know, I would have make tons of notes. I would immediately forget the notes. I would try to read them, and I would ignore the audience. I would do many things that would not work. But one of the things that the practice has really taught me is trusting in reality, and truly trusting in reality. And this is my invitation to all of you that you have never been here before. Every single moment of your life has led to this moment, and that is no exaggeration. And that actually is a sense that's come to me more and more through practice, the understanding of that. that I can rest back in this moment and know that however it goes, the lessons that are rolling out are exactly the ones that I need to know. Um, so as I was sitting and wondering, what am I going to say when I go up in 2 minutes as I'm singing these wonderful songs, I was thinking about the practice that other Swami guided us in, which was superb, by the way. Um, Brilliant, very clear, simple instructions. I was thinking about it and thinking, that set of 4-minute instructions, or however long it was at the beginning, that's like a hieroglyph of so much of what you need to know about meditation. It's contained right there. All the elements of what make practice so powerful, what I like to call the basic skills, or the little adjustments that you learn to make in the moment through meditation, they're all there. And these are the same skills that we take to applying the practice in life. They're the same skills that are there in any sort of devotional practice, in any contemplative practice, in any practice that you devote yourself to, you commit yourself to in this life that is changing your life. Those elements are there. So I thought what I would do, maybe slightly unorthodox, because I know that some of you have been up since 4:30 or 5 in the morning doing your sadhana. I wish I could be joining you. Seriously, I wish I could be joining you. But I thought I would guide a mini meditation tonight, like not too long, but that would kind of riff off the meditation that our excellent Swami guided us in. But this time what I'll do that's slightly different and slightly more kind of exploratory is I'm going to think of me as sort of like your tour guide at the museum. You're going to go into your mind, and we're going to do the same practice, but I'm going to just sort of be like, I have my little pointer and be like, no, did you notice this happening over here? And oh, this instruction is pointing to this little thing right here. And I'm going to kind of do a little, like, basically wreck the meditation for you. It won't wreck it. Hopefully you'll still get into it. This is an act of service. I want to bring you into a peaceful place, a still place, a calm place. But I also want it to be with this a new highlighted clarity around what exactly we're doing when we sit down, even for a 10-minute practice. What are the skills that are gathered here that transform us and transform the people around us? And so that's what we're going to do. And then afterwards, we can have maybe a sharing about that, or I'll kind of like unpack sort of, I guess, what happened. And what do I want to say else besides that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing that's important. So my other big interest, life is weird. Like, I don't know how I got to be here. Trust me. I do not know how. I don't even consider myself a very good meditator. It just happened, and here I am. And one of the things that I like about it is that I get to speak to a lot of beginners, a lot of people, and just through the quirk of life of being in these apps, which whether you love them or hate them, for better or for worse, is how a ton of people, in fact, how many people have used a meditation app and have found it helpful in some way? See, maybe a third to half of the audience. With so many people, that's how they're getting their meditation these days. And there are challenges with it, of course, because you only have 5 or 10 minutes to keep someone's attention. But on the other hand, you get a lot of feedback around what works, what doesn't work. And I get thousands of emails around this. And so I love trying to guide a practice for beginners. And my invitation to all of you is, at some point in the next month, or maybe the next 6 months, guide someone you know in a practice. You don't have to be a super experienced teacher to guide someone in a 2-minute practice if they seem like they're a little bit anxious to, hey, take a few breaths, feel your feet on the ground. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. But take note of the skills as I point them out here, because I really think this is what will change mental health. It's when there's an understanding of the basics of mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Once we understand that, the way that we understand, say, the basics of physical health, and if you think about it, 40 years ago, there were no joggers on the streets, or 45 years ago, that's something that's really happened in our generation, or at least in my generation. So I really feel like we're living in a time where we could be these skills that happen in meditation, which are really the headwaters of mental, emotional, spiritual health. I think they could start to be communicated in many more ways, and imperfect ways, and in many traditions, outside of traditions, and they should just become the kind of lingua franca of what it means to have a nervous system and to care for each other. So that's my kind of invitation as I guide this, to notice, oh yeah, That's interesting. That's what's happening. I'll think of that next time someone's having a panic attack in front of me, and I say, no, actually, I know nothing about that. I'm not going to do that at all. Take a few breaths. Go to the gym. So let's meditate. Yeah. Oh, you guys are waiting for me? I like to encourage the awkward pause. Have you ever had those at dinner parties? You know, when everyone's chatting, and all of a sudden there's the pause, and then, oh, should I be saying something? Can you feel it? Feel that little gathering? What is that? Is that tension? Expectation? No, seriously, notice it. Where is it happening? Where is it happening? In your experience, where would you, if you had to locate it? Anybody? Outside? What does it feel like? Is there a tension in you? Are you breathing the way you were breathing before, or is there a little bit of a holding of breath? Is there a feeling of embarrassment on my behalf? That can happen. It's like, ooh, brutal. It's like, oh. You ever done that? You know, oh, don't say that thing, and yep, they say that thing. You're just like, oh God. All right, let's meditate. So that you'll I'll come back to that part there about the basic skills as I see them. And this is more my main teacher is Buddhist, and he was kind of a mongrel Buddhist he had a mix of Vajrayana, Zen, and Vipassana. I came from all these places, and when he taught me meditation, you know, when I first started learning, the focus is really on these 3 or 4 skills. The first skill is the skill of concentration, or just the skill of choosing where you want to deploy your attention and deciding to put it there for 0.5 seconds, and then it goes over here, and then choosing it again. But this idea of how we commit our attention, the first thing, which you very clearly guided us in. And in fact, one of the brilliant moves with your meditation I noticed was offering not only to orient people to an experience of the breath. So there's the breath having, but also if they're interested in an experience of a point in the head or in the heart. And finally, if they want also to have a mantra, to repeat Om or repeat your own personal mantra, which is there's so much intelligence in that offering alone, because it gives the mind 3 layers of things to do. It's very, very good for concentrating the mind. So you have this first skill is the skill of knowing, of concentration, of knowing first how to deploy your attention or where you want to put it, and then being able to commit and devote your attention in a particular direction. The next one is the skill of clarity, the skill of what I was inviting you there before, to noticing, well, what is actually happening in experience? Can I back up for a moment and see, is there a sternness in how I'm treating myself? Is there a softness? Is there a contraction happening over here? Am I holding on to my breath for dear life, or am I really letting it come to me? Can I have more awareness around, or is there a thought that takes me? Well, what is the thought that takes me away? Is there an emotion under that thought? Is this a common repertoire for me? Is this a familiar pattern? So this clarity piece around, people talk about the expansion of consciousness in so many different ways, but I think of it in just often a very straightforward way of just literally expanding the bandwidth of what you're aware of, so that it's trickling down to these more subconscious areas that are happening underneath the radar. You start to bring these things into awareness, and the whole reason I'm doing this thing right here is because actually there's this low feeling of not being good enough down here that has been influencing me for 54 years maybe, or whatever it is, and that this is really shaping how I'm interacting my life, how I'm talking to different people. You start to bring that into awareness. So we have the skill of concentration, of clarity. We have the skill of care, which is the care we bring to ourselves to even come here, to do the practice, which is probably where we'll start. But also the skill of It really is how you are holding yourself and others. It's the way, it's the invitation to have your hands raised and everything in your body language uh, about how you're playing the instrument was done with care. Did you see the way his hands held the wood, and did you see the infusion? That caring quality is hugely important in a practice, and it rolls out in all these other practices. And the last one I'll say before we actually begin is the skill of equanimity, which in my way of learning about it is really the skill of, it's very subtle and mysterious and beautiful, but it's the skill of not pushing and pulling on reality, on experience. It's getting so still and smooth that you let everything just happen all on its own. And it's a way of getting out of your own way, so that the larger movement or rhythm of reality of whatever's here can find you. And you can begin to realize that you're in relationship with that. You're in relationship to that dance. And then this yearning piece can emerge, but we'll find out. So, when you're ready, you'll invite you to either close your eyes or have them open, whatever is comfortable for you. A few slow, deliberate breaths. The most important thing about making meditation accessible is kind of disarming the expectations of the mind. Sometimes I say it's just like coming home. Come home maybe a little early from a day's work, and you sit on the front porch or your back stoop, and there's nowhere you need to be or nowhere you want to be. There's just this being here. So not needing to make it other. Meditation, in a sense, isn't really an activity. It's being. It's knowing your being present. And we do this as an act of caring for ourselves. So even beginning there, is there a way you can turn up the dial on that, whatever that caring is for you? If it was at 2, what would it look like at 2.5, or at 3 or 4 or 5? Maybe it's a sudden forgiveness towards yourself, an allowing of any imperfection. Maybe it's a gentleness in the way you're holding yourself, or a sense of intelligence in the hands, the way they arrive on the lap. It's like the hand of a healer. Make your hands the hands of a healer. And with the exhale, you can sort of soften the worry lines of the forehead if you like, or the jaw. Just letting go of any easily let goable tension. Sometimes I soften through the front of the body, and I imagine whatever sounds are around me, like the sound of water there, or my voice, they're just sort of floating right through you. There's no bracing or rigidity. It's like you're transparent or porous. So if there's lots of busyness or thoughts, deliberately paying attention to some simple home base can just be a great way of beginning to settle the mind. And some of you already have your go-to. You have a strong path you've traveled back and forth through your mind. into your mantra, the sensation of the breath, or a point in the body. So you're welcome to move into that rhythm, that familiar rhythm, maybe with a sense of appreciation. You get to come here again. That appreciation, the gladdening the mind, choosing to find the experience enjoyable or at least a break. Some people like to sit and just be. They just spontaneously notice what's happening, and that could be you too. Or if you're newer to meditation, some simple sensory object, a soft feeling of the breath, a phrase that you repeat in your mind, the sound of the insects, the wind. So much of this is sort of about where your attention goes, how much, there's only so much real estate in consciousness, and you can be filling it with worries, wondering about the future, and all kinds of things, or you can choose to fill it with the soft feeling of the breath, a sense of enjoyment, the appreciation for the breeze, the sound of the breeze. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can have part of your attention on these things, and there can still be thoughts passing, feelings rising and falling. All this is the natural creativity of the mind. So if you wander off from a home base, from the breath, where do you wander to? Just being curious for a moment, highlighting, is there any inner talk or images? Is there more of a blankness, a disappearing? I often like dropping in just a thank you towards the end of a meditation, but a kind of specific kind of thank you. Like a thank you and then just a big space after. Like a thank you, I don't know why. I'm really being sincere in it, sincerely saying thank you, and then let it just be a big space after until a reason finds you. Maybe there's something to do with the yearning or what your heart knows, something to do with connection to this space, to these people, something to do with your sadhana, your practice, your life, your loves. So I have a question for you. What makes it spiritual? What makes it spiritual? What is it in the meditation for you? I'm sincerely asking. What is in the meditation for you that comes online for you? Whatever that is. What is it? What is the feeling, or what is the experience? How would you describe it? And what do you do to make it happen or not do? Yeah. Yeah. A surrender. Yeah. And because you feel like you're surrendering to something, surrendering yourself to who knows what. Yeah.
Just allowing what's deep inside to just surface.
Yeah.
You know, just to.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
I feel like it's a connection, either to source or to your higher self. I visualize that cord, and I let it take me there, and I try to channel that energy back down into me.
And when you see that chord, do you feel that connection?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
And it's a connection to, do you even have a word for it? To your higher self, is it a yearning? What is the experience?
It's like trying to connect to my higher self, to cosmic energy.
Yeah.
And bring that healing down into me and try to channel it back out to everyone around me.
Yeah, beautiful. The hollow bone is how I like to think of it. It's that your capacity for surrender. The more you get out of your own way, the more you surrender, the more it can come through, whatever wants to come through. Who else? I'd love to hear. Is that you with your hand raised? Yeah.
It's very interesting because I just noticed perhaps this is the only case where you tame something and you're taming your breath, but at the same time, you're actually returning to a natural wild state of your breath. And usually taming is to move away from wild and natural.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's paradoxical. It's so paradoxical. Who else? Yeah.
The timelessness.
Timelessness, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Even who also gets, anyone experience that, the kind of timelessness, when you're getting deeper in a practice, and just, how about spaciousness? Spaciousness. And sometimes, where is the edge of that space? There is no findable limit. I have that experience often. It's like, well, what happened there? You remember what's that show, Arrested Development? You ever watched Arrested Development? Remember the blue man? It's like the blue guy who dressed up like the blue man and stand in front of a blue wall, and then you just see his eyes. Sometimes I think that's where the practice goes in a way. It's like you're perfectly, you get so in sync with the background that you just the whites of the eyes. Except it wouldn't be blue; it would be multicolored and much more interesting than that. One more person, just really, really, really interested in hearing these responses. And we can talk more about this when we're doing the workshop too. But what is it that makes it spiritual for you, if anything? Maybe because for a lot of us, I think it's not. I mean, the way it's presented often is nowadays in meditation, it's like this sort of like either a grim test of endurance, or it's just sort of like the equivalent of eating your vegetables from a mental health point of view. It's arid. But of course, meditation is not that at all. I wonder how you would describe it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing us back there. But moving deeper into the heart space. Is that why you guys choose heart? Is there a reason why you give both options for head and heart?
Intellectual people, emotional.
Oh yeah, I figured. Yeah, I was all up in here. And I'm like, oh yeah, here I go again. I know this place. They take the elevator down. It's like, no, toll booth. Go back up. Go back to A. I just want to figure this out. Okay, go back down. Nope. Toll booth. Go. It's like, eventually, I got through. So why I called this? I think I called it To Humanity and Beyond because I was watching like a Buzz Lightyear thing with my 5-year-old. I realized this today when I was trying to have a conversation with a dignified Swami, and I had tapioca pudding dripping from my nose as my 2-year-old went. But what I mean by that is, I really think that that's what meditation is, both those poles. It is about coming into clear contact with the exact details of your beautiful, imperfect humanity. I say imperfect, I just mean all your foibles, your neuroses. I mean, I love Ram Dass's line that you learn to become a connoisseur of your own neuroses. It is definitely like that. And learning to accept them. I mean, I have many mental health conditions overlapping and living inside me, and I have a very different relationship to them, to my ADHD, my bipolar, or the da-da-da-da-da. It's very different. They're how I'm configured, whatever you want to call it, if you want to give it a term or not, but that's what I got to have in this life. And